So coming up, we're now in 2018. We get The Flash with Ezra Miller signed on, and Aquaman with Jason Momoa now finally confirmed. And then in 2019, we get Shazam with The Rock, which I was surprised that one was so far into the future because it
Yeah.
seemed like that one's already been in development and stuff, but it's actually not
hmm
till 2019.
Yeah.
And then in 2019, we get Justice League Part 2.
So, as we said earlier on a different episode that we put up, the Flash TV show is killing it right now. Like it's
Hmm.
so good,
It's
and
great, yeah.
the fact that and then I googled pictures of this guy that's going to play the Flash. I was like, who is this guy? Is it like a anorexic guy from a goth band or something like that? Like he really looks strange. And I mean, actors can obviously look many different ways, but unless they're going a completely different angle from the Flash TV show, it seems kind of silly to not kind of capture some of that and put it on the screen. I just think that they're like you said, maybe they're making plans and they're going to see what happens. But I wouldn't be surprised if things change with this one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so Ezra Miller, I'm not really familiar with him, but I do know he's considered a very strong actor. But
hmm
then there's the question of does he fit the Flash, well?
Yeah,
But he seems to have the kind of serious acting chops, which is at least a good sign.
totally. I mean,
Um,
like look at Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man, right? So
yeah, I think I agree with you how good the Flash TV show is,
hmm
but I also feel like it was a wise decision for DC to keep television separate from the movies so that you don't have each of them like beholden to the other and having to check their story plans with each other and stuff.
mm
So I think having them separate probably helps all the writers just have more, creativity and be more free to actually tell the story that makes sense for their character or for their medium. What I take from your point, though, is that there are things that you like about the TV show and that you're hoping the movie does those as well, like just as well as the TV show's doing.
yeah, and also here's the thing: if these okay, there's no Green Arrow movie scheduled, right?
Right.
But if there was no Flash movie scheduled, and they actually said that there's small roles for the Flash and Green Arrow to play in Justice League, not major main roles, I see no reason why they couldn't be played by these guys from the TV show because it would just be like some killer fanboy and people for fans of the TV show moment for them to come in and do some crazy thing in the movie and be like, hey, I gotta go, like I don't know, like it just it has the potential like where it could really fit in well with the universe they've established.
Yeah, I can see that, but then it also seems like with the shows, if Superman is kind of just always over there in Metropolis, then it seems like that would affect the Flash show or the Arrow show to kind of be like, well, just have Superman come in
True,
and
true, true.
help you out, and so it seems like it changes the dynamic for the
Yeah.
shows. So I can really see both sides, and I'm not firmly on one side or the other. And with Ezra Miller, I'm hoping that him being a strong actor that he will pay off, and it might mean that they do have a vision of the Flash that's not quite as fun or as dynamic and personable as the TV show is, which would be a disappointment. But I'm also open to kind of having two versions of the Flash and giving them both a chance.
Yeah, basically,
Um,
we're spending a lot of time in this one part, but as long as it's as good or better,
mhm,
if it's not
right.
better than the TV show, then don't make the movie. That's my the
hmm
way I think about it.
I'm really excited to see Jason Momoa as Aquaman. So he's in Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
He, has already had scenes filmed and stuff. I think he might be wrapped already for his
hmm
parts. He just looks awesome. I'm really excited to see him as Aquaman. I think, Aquaman, this will be his first feature kind of film presentation, and Jason Momoa just physically seems like he could really put his mark on Aquaman. So I'm excited for how that'll play out.
I think so too. I finally watched some of Game of Thrones. He's great in that. The Conan movie from a few years ago wasn't amazing, but he was good as Conan. And Aquaman has been a living meme on the internet forever. People make jokes about him all the time. It'd be nice to see him get his due being played by
Mhm.
this guy.
Now we have a video up where we talk about Shazam, so I'll refer people to that if you're interested in Shazam speculation. And then in 2019 we also get Justice League Part 2. So any other thoughts about this kind of maybe trilogy or at least this kind of two-part Justice League? Any thoughts on like villains that they might be bringing in?
Well, honestly, before they announced all this, I thought Justice League would be much better as its own trilogy, standing alone. So that's my only disappointment hearing about this part one, part two thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, if they want to take things that have worked really well in the animated series and the comics, kind of like the Avengers for Marvel as well, the best ideas for movies for the Justice League is why would these guys all band together?
Hmm.
Because they need to beat some crazy menace that they couldn't do on their own, including
Yeah.
Superman.
Right.
So they can really, there's Darkseid, there's Brainiac, there's all sorts of stuff, but
Hmm.
really they could mine a lot of stuff in the DC universe and really think outside the box. Like maybe don't just do Darkseid, do the whole apocalypse,
Hmm.
parademon, alien invasion type thing. Like that to me is what
Hmm.
people want to see. Something that
Hmm.
has that same level that the Avengers film had, where people are like, "Wow, this is really great."
Yeah, and I think if you do that with Darkseid behind it, it could be even more powerful than like the Avengers kind of
Sure,
invasion
sure.
was. And I think Brainiac is an interesting one, so you mentioned that. I mean, I think he
Mm-hmm.
would be good as kind of like a Justice League Part 1 type guy because we've already had the Krypton established very well in Man of Steel,
Mm-hmm.
and we have the elements from Krypton, so, a lot of Brainiac's versions of Brainiac have been tied to Krypton in some way or another.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he could make sense for kind of maybe a Part 1. But then it seems like, when we get to the real big climax, Darkseid seems like an obvious choice.
And what's kind of funny about that is that if we end up getting Darkseid in the movie at the same time that Marvel is using Thanos, they're kind of
Yeah.
like, I think they were both worked on by the same guy, the same comic
Hmm.
creator for a while. It's kind of funny. They're like versions of Marvel and DC of the same kind of
Yeah.
cosmic characters, you know?
Yeah. So moving on, just to finish it off in 2020, we've got Cyborg. So Ray Fisher has already signed on. He's in Batman v Superman, but Cyborg is signed on for Justice League and his own standalone movie, which Ray Fisher didn't even know until the day that this was announced, just a few hours before it was announced. So he's pretty excited. He again kind of comes from a theater background, I think a strong actor, but hasn't really done a lot of, this type of action type movies things.
Right.
And then we get Green Lantern in 2020 as well. So for me,
Yeah.
I will say on Green Lantern, my hope is that it's John Stewart.
That's exactly what I was going to
Okay.
say. Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way because they missed the boat with Hal Jordan, and Hal Jordan's a great character. So go, John Stewart. The animated
Yeah.
series showed that people know who that is and they really care about the character. And
Yeah.
we need more characters of color in movies too, right? Superhero
Yeah, I
movies.
mean, the diversity is an obvious choice.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, I love John Stewart in the Justice League animated.
totally.
So I think it's like a no-brainer. So hopefully Warner Brothers also realizes John Stewart is a very logical choice for it.
Yeah. Now
And
Cyborg though, you know what I got to tell you, man, that seems like he should be a character on the Flash TV show to me. Like this guy, tell me why Cyborg should have his entire movie. Like just pitch me that right now. Who are
well,
Cyborg's villains? Like come on, man.
he's not as well established, so I mean, it could be
Yeah.
something where the movie universe and the writers there get to establish him a little bit. Here's my, I guess, the best rationale I can give for it. He's a younger character.
Mm-hmm.
He's cast again as a black character, and he's this integration with technology.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
maybe he's a good character to develop in the 21st century because young people, and really all of us, but especially young people, are almost more tied to their technology and becoming fused with their technology. So it
True.
might be a way to kind of explore that kind of new development in humanity that we are almost like pretty much attached to our technology, and he kind of represents that in
Maybe.
his in
Yeah.
his being. So that's maybe my pitch to just say Cyborg is maybe a good character to try to develop more fully in the 21st century.
I just
Um,
think out of all these movies, except for Green Lantern, just because people remembering it, that's the one that's got the potential to bomb the most. I think they should use him more like a character in the Justice League movie where he's not in the movie the whole time and they have to go to this guy for tech stuff. And even if
mhm,
that means when he gets his powers, he actually is like dialing into stuff when they're in
right.
battles and like the
Yeah.
cool ways they used him in the Justice League first arc in the New 52. Like,
Right.
I just don't see him being able to carry his own movie.
Yeah, the tech guy, which is kind of like a trope, in TV and
Yeah,
movies, is not usually a lead. He's usually the reason he works is because he is the tech support
that's
type
right.
character.
And I mean, by
But
making it different, they can make this guy actually saves the day by being there physically as well too, and
mhm,
joining the fight. But to me, he's a character where less is more. He's going to be
mhm,
effective if he doesn't become cyborg right away in the movie.
mhm, yeah,
Like his backstory is kind of cool and the ex athlete thing and stuff like that. Maybe that's
yeah.
what they're thinking of for the movie. Who knows?
Yeah. They did put those two furthest down the road, and they're taking this approach kind of the opposite of Marvel. They are introducing all the characters as a team in Justice League and Justice League 2,
Yeah.
and then so we get to know them as part of the team, and then they split off into their own movie. So I think that could maybe work because Cyborg doesn't have as much of a background, but we could get to know him in the Justice League movies,
Yeah.
and then we might be ready or be interested in seeing him in his own movie, or we might be ready for a new Green Lantern, hopefully John Stewart.
Yeah, exactly. As long as it works, I'm all for it. If it's got a lot of potential with Cyborg, but I worry about the rogues and stuff. Like he has no nemesis character. You know, you say Green Lantern, you're like, okay, he's got Sinestro. The Flash has many villains. Superman's got Lex Luthor. Batman's got the Joker. Name me a cyborg villain, you know? It's something that worries me about because you need what do they always say? A hero is only as good as their villain, right? So
Yep, you raised some good questions. Again, that's pretty far off, so we'll just have to see how things are going. We'll have a better sense of it. A couple quick notes. Sandman is still in development, but that's a Vertigo movie, so that's not part of the DC slate. And then Warner Brothers is planning to do a Batman standalone and a Superman standalone, but they didn't include those in this list. They're going to be filled in wherever they kind of make sense. So we have those to look forward to as well. Plus a Lego Batman from Warner Brothers. So
that's kind of exciting. That's supposed to be pretty. I haven't seen that Lego movie, but apparently the guy is really good in it as Batman. So
yeah, the whole movie is pretty good, and Batman is one of the best parts. So
nice.
lots to look forward to on the movie side from DC and from Warner Brothers. So Jason, thanks for talking about it with me.
Yeah, sounds good.